Good evening, and welcome back. If you are listening from a quiet corner of the world, perhaps beside a softly fading hearth, or within the deep stillness of a bedroom, please allow my voice to be a gentle guide tonight. We will not rush this journey. There is no urgency in the story we are about to share. Find your most restful position, allow your shoulders to soften, and your breath to gently deepen. Let the sounds outside the distant world, the worries of the day, all of it become a soft, low hum far away. Tonight, there is nothing for you to solve, nothing to resist. Simply allow your mind to drift back through time, following the line of a vast, organized silence. We are stepping into the deep, ancient intention behind a place known as the Purple Forbidden City. My voice will be your soft anchor tonight, guiding you along the smooth, ancient rivers of time, where only the memory of order remains. Nothing in tonight's story will disturb your peace. Welcome this evening's stillness, this gentle moment where the day gives way to the deep, slow quiet of the night. Feel the gentle weight of the air around you, soft and unmoving like silk draped across the horizon. With a long, soft breath, allow the rhythm of the evening to settle into the rhythm of your body. Let your breath become as quiet as the falling dusk, slow and deep, filling you with calm and releasing any lingering tension with the faintest whisper of air. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast, tranquil plain under a deep, ancient sky. Before you, a faint straight line disappears into the mist, an ancient myth-like cadence of intention. We are about to trace the origin of enduring quietness, the center of a world designed for peace. If these gentle journeys help you rest, you may leave a soft like or subscribe, only if it feels comforting and natural for your night. The story of the vast palace complex begins not with the raising of a pillar, but with a deep, careful contemplation of place. The eventual location of the Forbidden City in the northern city we now call Beijing was chosen not by chance, but by a powerful yet peaceful blend of cosmic intention and earthly wisdom. Imagine the location in the early 15th century, a flat, wide expanse of land touched by the cool, dry north wind. This was a site of historical gravity, a junction where cultures had met and exchanged quiet influence for centuries. For the ambitious new ruler, the decision to move the capital here was an act of profound, deliberate, anchoring a signal that the center of the world would be held firmly at the edge of the known domain. The choice of Beijing was first and foremost an act of geographical calm. It offered a sweeping flat horizon that allowed the architecture to rise without strain, perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions. This flat earth was essential for establishing the most critical element of the design and the absolute, unwavering axial line. Ancient Chinese cosmic thought, which informed every beam and stone of the future city, placed immense importance on alignment. The earth was viewed as a soft, rectangular plane, and the sky as a vast, gentle dome. For the emperor, the son of heaven, his earthly residence had to mirror the order of the cosmos. The city needed to be a perfect, quiet intermediary between the two. The selected site allowed for a pure north-south axis. This imaginary straight line running directly from the city's northernmost point to its southern gates would become the spine of all order. It was the gentle thread that wove through the entire urban plan, establishing an unbreakable hierarchy. Every structure, every courtyard, every gate would be oriented to either side of this central restful line, ensuring the whole complex faced the gentle life-giving light of the south. Furthermore, the site was carefully prepared. Before any timber was raised, the land itself had to be softened and secured. The earth beneath the future palace was ancient, but it had to be prepared to hold the tremendous peaceful weight of the golden roofs and massive walls. This initial work involved leveling the ground with immense patience, ensuring a perfectly smooth, unhurried foundation that would last 1,000 years. The north wind played a subtle, vital role in the selection. While the north represented the cold, silent stability of the cosmos, the pole star, the buildings were strategically designed to turn their backs against its harshness, embracing the warmer currents from the south. The high walls and massive gates would gently filter the air, ensuring that within the palace, the atmosphere remained sheltered, warm, and utterly tranquil. The quiet, flat earth of Beijing, therefore, was not merely a construction site. It was the chosen canvas for an architectural dream, a place where earthly organization would perfectly meet cosmic stillness. It was the first soft whisper of the Imperial Order, built not through conflict, but through the deep, systematic respect for place and the unwavering discipline of the straight line. The massive undertaking of building the Central Palace complex was driven by the quiet, resolute will of a single man, the Yongle Emperor. His vision was not born of hurried ambition, but of a deep, slow intention to establish a seat of power that mirrored the unmoving stability of the heavens, a terrestrial purple star. Imagine the emperor in the dim light of his temporary residence, tracing the lines of the future city on a scroll. He understood that the mere act of ruling was insufficient. He needed a physical space that visually represented the absolute order he sought to bring to his world. This palace was to be more than a home. It was to be a massive, organized diagram of the cosmos itself, built upon the principles of cosmic harmony and earthly geometry. Yongle's intention was profound because it required patient, long-term commitment. The construction was not a quick project. It spanned 14 years of quiet, methodical effort, from the first soil turned in 1406 to the final ceremonial soft entry in 1420. This duration speaks volumes about the detailed planning and the refusal to rush the foundational integrity of the project. The very name chosen for the future complex, the Forbidden City, was rooted in gentle celestial metaphor. It was named after the Ziwei Yuan, or the Purple Forbidden Enclosure, a constellation centered around the pole star. The pole star, in ancient cosmology, was the unmoving anchor of the sky, around which all other stars peacefully rotated. Since the emperor was the son of heaven, his home on earth had to be the equivalent, the unmoving, tranquil center of the earthly realm. This gentle symbolic intent informed the scale. The palace was designed to be immense, stretching across a carefully calculated area that suggested boundless yet contained order. This scale was not meant to inspire fear, but awe, a sense of the deep, systematic power that governed the universe. To achieve this immense architectural dream, the emperor dispatched thousands of gentle feet across the empire to gather the necessary materials. This required a vast logistical operation, moving massive timbers and huge blocks of stone across rivers, mountains, and plains. The movement itself had to be slow, deliberate, and organized, minimizing friction and ensuring the safe arrival of every piece. The very act of procuring materials became a meditation on logistical perfection. The guiding principle of symmetry was the quiet constant throughout the planning process. Every major hall, every gate, and every courtyard was designed to be perfectly balanced along the central north-south axis. This symmetry created an architectural feeling of peaceful equilibrium, suggesting that within these walls, everything was in its rightful stable place. Yongle's decision to anchor his capital in the north was a strategic, spiritual, and architectural statement, requiring a total restructuring of resources and administrative focus. It was a commitment to a new permanent center, replacing the soft, older traditions with a bold, durable architectural framework. This vision was executed not through frantic construction, but through the patient application of ancient wisdom and meticulous engineering. It was a demonstration that the greatest power lies in the quiet, absolute alignment of earthly structures with the perceived tranquil order of the night sky. The palace was intended to stand as a symbol of unwavering stillness, reflecting the slow, deep intention of the emperor who dreamed it into being. As the vast, flat site was cleared and prepared, the architecture began to take shape, guided by an unseen geometry, the deeply held beliefs that the palace complex must perfectly align with the orderly rhythm of the cosmos. Every measurement, every angle, and every placement was a soft, silent invocation of universal balance. The foundation of this symbolic order was the north-south axial line, the central spine of the entire city. This line was fixed with absolute precision, running straight and unwavering for miles, leading directly through the most important structures of the Forbidden City. This axis was not merely a route. It was a representation of the emperor's central unmoving role, the pole star of the earth. Imagine the surveyors working in the quiet fields, their tools tracing these celestial intentions onto the ancient dust. Their work was sacred, ensuring that the emperor's home was constantly bathed in the correct flow of qi, or vital energy, aligning the human realm with the tranquil, immense forces of the universe. The complex was carefully designed on a rectangular grid, a shape that symbolized the traditional Chinese concept of the earth stable, flat, and contained. The walls, both of the inner palace and the surrounding imperial city, were set at exact right angles, reinforcing a sense of complete, unwavering order. This geometric clarity was intended to provide a constant visual and spiritual reassurance of stability. Beyond the straight lines, number symbolism was woven into the very fabric of the palace, creating a deep, resonant rhythm. The most pervasive number was 9. In ancient China, 9 was the largest single digit, representing the ultimate masculinity yang and the highest level of imperial authority. The emperor's claim to the mandate of heaven had to be reflected in this numerical perfection. You can trace this number through the gentle repetition in the architecture. The massive main doors of the halls were often studded with golden bronze door nails, arranged in 9 rows of 981 nails in total. This repetition of 9 was a silent, powerful chant of imperial eternity. Furthermore, the design intentionally exceeded human scale in many areas, particularly the outer courts. The colossal halls were set upon high-tiered marble platforms, raising them to the heavens. The number of steps, the size of the pillars, and the width of the courtyards were all calculated to inspire a feeling of vast, organized stillness. When movement occurred here, it had to be slow, soft, and measured, respecting the sheer scale of the ordered space. This symbolic geometry also dictated the overall flow of the palace. The concept of front court, back palace. The front portion, dedicated to the affairs of the state, was public, vast, and formal, a place of quiet ritual. The back palace, dedicated to the emperor's life and his family, was smaller, more intimate, and more restful. This clear spatial division reflected the gentle, necessary separation between the emperor's public duty and his private human life. The entire Forbidden City was built as a quiet, physical realization of ancient cosmic texts. It was an architectural poem about the tranquility of the pole star, the stability of the square earth, and the gentle organizing power of the number 9. Every piece of carved stone and every carefully placed tile was a part of this deep, unwavering commitment to an orderly world. The architectural dream of the Great Palace required a deep, steady commitment of resources gathered from the farthest, quiet corners of the empire. This phase of gathering the materials was a logistical journey in itself, moving massive timbers and huge blocks of stone across vast distances, relying on gentle river transport and slow, organized movement. Imagine the soundscape of this immense endeavor, not the clamor of conflict, but the rhythmic sound of axes falling softly on giant trees in the distant forests, the creak of enormous wooden sleds moving slowly across frozen ground, and the quiet splash of oars on the Grand Canal. The most vital material was the timber, the massive columns and beams needed to support the towering roofs of the main halls. These precious woods, primarily durable nanmu and pine, came from the remote, misty mountains of Sichuan and Yunnan, far to the southwest. The task of extracting these trees and moving them was an epic, patient process that could take many years for a single log. The largest timbers were too heavy to move overland with speed. Instead, they were guided by the natural flow of water. They were gently floated down mountain rivers, carried by the slow tides, until they reached the larger waterways. This process was a quiet submission to the earth's own rhythm. The timber had to wait for the proper rainy season to be carried along, a lesson in patience and natural timing. Once they reached the central river system, the logs were lashed together into enormous, slow-moving rafts, which were then navigated with gentle skill up the Grand Canal towards the north. Picture these rafts drifting slowly under the moonlight, their surfaces shining with mist and ancient dust, carrying the future stability of the capital on the current of the river. The stone was equally challenging and required a different kind of slow, methodical effort. Massive blocks of white marble destined for the imperial terraces and the intricate carving of the ceremonial path were quarried near Beijing itself. These stones, some weighing hundreds of tons, were moved only in the deep stillness of the northern winter. To avoid the tremendous friction of moving stone over dry ground, the roads were prepared with water and ice. Workers patiently poured water onto the paths, allowing the cold winter air to transform it into smooth, thick sheets of ice. Then the stones were placed on huge wooden sleds and pulled by thousands of quiet, straining feet, gliding smoothly over the icy surface. This process turned a brutal task into a kind of slow, controlled glide, relying on the gentle power of natural physics. Even the bricks and the renowned glazed yellow tiles traveled great distances. The bricks, known as golden bricks for their quality and dense sound, were fired in kilns far to the south and transported north along the rivers. The yellow tiles, baked to a perfect enduring color, were also carefully shipped, each tile a small, quiet piece of the emperor's celestial roof. The phase of material gathering was an act of unification. It meant that a quiet piece of the misty south, a fragment of the cold north, and the slow power of the central rivers were all brought together in Beijing. The finished palace would not be built of local materials alone. It would be a composite of the gentle abundance of the entire world under heaven, anchored in the northern plain by the deep, patient intention of the emperor. We now drift softly into the second layer of our architectural dream, focusing on the formation of the palace's protective shell, the vast walls and the surrounding moat. These structures define the shape of the Forbidden City, creating a massive golden rectangle of quiet, organized space, separate from the bustling, distant world outside. The outer boundary of the Forbidden City is defined by an immense wall, standing high and sturdy. This wall is not a jagged barrier of fear, but a surface of quiet, durable stone and brick, built with such precision that it suggests unwavering permanence. Imagine the vast length of this perimeter, stretching across the four cardinal directions, creating a contained world designed for internal peace. The wall rises gracefully, its height nearly 30 feet, serving a dual purpose. It blocks the sharp sounds and visual distractions of the external world, ensuring that within the palace, the emperor and his court could exist in a state of sheltered, predictable calm. It acts as a vast, continuous screen, allowing only the soft wind and the gentle light of the sun and moonlight to pass over its smooth surface. The construction of this wall demanded great patience. It was built layer by layer with carefully fired bricks, stacked and bonded with a lime and glutinous rice mixture, creating a material that hardened over time into a density rivaling natural stone. The wall itself is wider at the base, tapering slightly toward the top, lending it a sense of stable gravity. Crowning the four corners of this vast rectangle stand the beautiful corner towers, or jiaolu. These towers are architectural masterpieces, delicate and complex, with multi-layered roofs that seem to float against the sky. They are the decorative whispers on the strong, silent foundation of the walls. Look closely at their structure. It is a complex arrangement of interlocking beams and eaves designed to catch the drifting light and cast long, intricate shadows as the sun moves slowly across the day. The corner towers stand as silent guardians, embodying both the strength of the wall and the grace of the imperial architecture. Complementing the quiet strength of the wall is the moat, a wide, deep channel of calm water that encircles the entire complex. This moat is known as the Golden Water River Tongzihe, and it is the soft, flowing boundary between the imperial world and the surrounding city. The moat is not primarily a defense against conflict. It is a feature of gentle, flowing transition and feng shui. Its constant slow tides provide a continuous source of water, symbolizing wealth and purity, flowing around the heart of the capital. The water reflects the vast sky and the gentle contours of the wall, softening the harsh line of the brick into a peaceful mirror image. Imagine the sound near the moat at distant night, and the only sounds are the occasional soft lapping of the water against the stone edge and the low, faint wind moving across its surface. The moat ensures a zone of stillness, requiring any movement toward the gates to be slow, deliberate, and visible. The wall and the moat together form the first, most powerful statement of the Forbidden City, a space defined by absolute order, contained by quiet stone and buffered by flowing water. They create a perfect sheltered rectangle where the slow, steady rhythm of imperial life could unfold without intrusion, entirely dedicated to the tranquility of the central power. Moving inward from the protective wall and the gentle flow of the moat, we encounter the vast, organized space of the outer court. Here, the architectural expression of order reaches its zenith in the majestic sequence of the three great halls. These halls, the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Hall of Central Harmony, and the Hall of Preserving Harmony, stand in a solemn linear progression along the central axis, embodying scale as a breath of stillness. This trio of halls represents the heart of the emperor's public duty, the realm of quiet ritual and vast ceremony. They are built upon a magnificent three-tiered marble platform, or terrace, which lifts them above the rest of the city. Imagine this platform as a cloud of white stone lifting the golden roofs toward the sky. The deliberate height of this platform ensures that all approach must be a slow, gradual ascent, demanding respect not through sharpness, but through measured elevation. The first and largest of these, the Hall of Supreme Harmony Tahitian, sets the prevailing mood. Its size is breathtaking, but its scale is designed to impose a feeling not of frantic activity, but of profound emptiness and silence. It is a vast open space dedicated to the most important yet infrequent ceremonies: the coronation, the New Year's Day, rites, the emperor's birthday. For most of the year, it stood quietly empty, its colossal space breathing stillness. The structure is defined by its massive columns, smooth and round, rising with steady grace to meet the intricate roof structure. These columns, made from the colossal Nanmu timbers transported by the slow river currents, stand in perfect symmetrical rows. Their repetition creates a visual rhythm, calming and hypnotic, assuring the viewer that every element is accounted for and in its proper place. Following the Tahitian is the smaller, perfectly square Hall of Central Harmony, Jonghedian. This hall served as a quiet resting point for the emperor before the long formal rituals in the Great Hall. Its square shape symbolizes the earth, providing a moment of grounded calm between the vastness of the supreme harmony and the complexity of the hall that follows. In this smaller space, the emperor would rehearse his lines or simply pause, gathering his quiet strength before emerging. Finally, the sequence concludes with the Hall of Preserving Harmony Biohedion. This hall was used for quiet banquets, and more importantly, for the final stage of the imperial examinations. Here, the best scholars of the empire would gather in a state of nervous but quiet anticipation. The architecture here encourages focus and internal reflection, with its open plan allowing the light to enter and spread softly over the assembled figures. The entire sequence of these three halls set upon their tiered platform is a study in gradual, organized scale. The spaces move from the largest to a contained square, and then back to a medium-focused rectangle. This deliberate variation prevents visual monotony. Yet the unwavering symmetry and adherence to the axial line ensure that the underlying sense of order is never broken. The scale of these outer halls communicates quiet eternity. It suggests a power not bound by the fleeting lives of individuals, but by the enduring perfection of the design itself. To stand within this court is to feel small yet perfectly placed within a vast, organized, and utterly peaceful diagram of the universe. As we drift above the vast palace, our gaze is drawn upwards to the most defining feature of its peaceful skyline: the roofs. The architecture of the Forbidden City established a profound rhythm of the roofs, using their shape, color, and intricate decoration to speak a language of quiet, structured authority and cosmic balance. The most noticeable characteristic is the color, a dense, enduring golden yellow. These are the glazed ceramic tiles fired to a perfect, flawless sheen. Yellow, in the language of the imperial court, was the color of the earth and the symbolic color of the emperor himself. By covering the main halls and gates with this deep yellow, the builders asserted that the palace was the central anchoring presence of the earthly realm, stable and unmoving. Imagine the tiles catching the drifting light of the sun. They do not glare harshly, but reflect the light with a soft, warm glow, making the roofs seem to hover gently beneath the sky. The sheer number of these tiles, each one carefully molded, glazed, and individually placed, speaks of an extraordinary dedication to visual perfection and unified order. The shape of the roofs is equally important to the palace's quiet harmony. They are not flat, aggressive structures, but flow with a gentle, sweeping curve, lifting softly at the corners towards the sky. This characteristic Chinese roofline, the upturned eaves, is designed to lighten the massive visual weight of the structure and to echo the shape of a calm, ascending breath. It suggests harmony between the heavy, grounded walls and the light, boundless air. Furthermore, the roof lines dictated a visual hierarchy of importance. The most significant halls, such as the Hall of Supreme Harmony, possess a double-eaved roof known as Wudian. This repetition of the roofline reinforces the structure's scale and importance, setting it apart as a space of ultimate, unquestioned stillness. Smaller halls and residences feature single-eaved roofs, establishing a gentle, ordered progression of rank that is easily read by the eye. The eaves themselves are home to a final layer of quiet symbolism, the roof ridge ornaments, or zushu. These small ceramic figures, mythical beasts, immortals, and protective creatures, are arranged in precise, ordered rows along the sloping ridges. They are led by a man riding a phoenix, followed by a sequence of animals like dragons, lions, and horses. The number of these figurines indicates the status of the building, with the Hall of Supreme Harmony having the largest and most complex assembly, perhaps up to 11 figures. These creatures serve as quiet guardians, their presence a subtle nod to protection and auspicious fortune designed to ward off unseen disruptions. They also act as aesthetic balancers, leading the eye along the strong lines of the roof and culminating at the slightly lifted corner. This rhythm of the roofs, from the warm golden color to the gentle curve of the eaves and the precise placement of the small ceramic figures, ensures that the vast palace complex operates as a single, coherent piece of organized music. The sky above and the ground below are mediated by this soft, steady line of architecture, where every tile and every curved corner contributes to the overall atmosphere of deep, serene control. As we continue to drift above the forming palace, we focus on the most striking visual element that speaks of quiet organization and the pervasive deep use of the color yellow. In the architectural language of the Forbidden City, color was never merely decorative. It was a potent soft whisper of the imperial prerogative and the gentle structure of the cosmos. Yellow, the color of rich earth, and the ripening harvest held the highest significance. It symbolized the center and the element of earth representing stability, nourishment, and balance. Since the emperor was the son of heaven, and the palace was the terrestrial center, yellow was reserved almost exclusively for the imperial family and the main public structures. Imagine the deep, warm tone of the glazed roof tiles, the same color we observed earlier. The yellow is not sharp or aggressive. It is a gentle golden hue that absorbs the light and holds it, giving the structures a feeling of permanence and warmth. This color asserted the emperor's position as the anchor of the world, quietly sustaining and ordering all things. This color code was a vital part of the palace's visual hierarchy. Wherever you moved within the vast complex, the color of the roof tiles told a silent story of rank and purpose. The main administrative halls and the residences of the emperor and empress were uniformly crowned in this imperial yellow. Yet even within this strict color rule, there were exceptions that created a subtle, harmonious contrast. Look closely at the Wenyuan-gi, the imperial library. Its roof tiles were dark green instead of yellow. Green, the color of growth and spring, symbolized wood creativity and scholarship. This choice was a soft nod to the non-political academic purpose of the building, distinguishing it as a space dedicated to quiet study and the preservation of knowledge rather than political ceremony. Similarly, the tiles on some of the lesser-known halls, particularly those dedicated to ancestral worship, were sometimes dark blue. Blue associated with water, and the heavens symbolized purity, mourning, and the divine spiritual realm. These differences were deliberate, providing a calm counterpoint to the dominant yellow, ensuring the color scheme was balanced and restful, not monotonous. The use of yellow continued in smaller, more intimate details. The emperor's sedan chairs, his porcelain, and the silk robes worn for key ceremonies all echoed this powerful anchoring color. Even the inner walls of some courtyards were painted in a soft, pale yellow wash, catching the lantern glow at night and creating a secluded, warm atmosphere. This systematic use of color throughout the Forbidden City was a lesson in quiet discipline. It communicated the empire's structure immediately, without the need for loud pronouncements or forceful displays. The gentle power of yellow enveloped the palace in a serene blanket of authority, assuring all who entered that they were within the world's organized center, under the steady influence of earth and heaven. The colors, like notes in a low, continuous flute melody, maintained the overall harmony and stillness of the imperial home. Our slow, dreamy journey now approaches the primary entrance to the palace complex, the Meridian Gate, or Wumen. This colossal gate is the single most important architectural threshold, designed not as a sharp barrier of defense, but as a space of soft transition, regulating the flow of human movement and establishing the quiet ritual of entry. Imagine standing before the gate. It is vast and overwhelming in its scale, but its shape is unique and graceful. It is known as the 5 Phoenix Turrets, because of the 5 individual structures that crown the main U-shaped wall, a central tower, and 2 wings that curve forward, ending in 2 smaller, symmetrical towers. This arrangement creates a powerful sense of contained embrace, inviting entry, while simultaneously imposing respect. The Wumen is built upon a high, sturdy base, lending it an air of quiet elevation. To enter, you must ascend slowly. This gradual vertical movement signals that you are leaving the chaotic realm of the city and entering the purified, organized space of the Imperial world. The ascent itself is an integral part of the ritual of transition. The gate features 5 doorways, and their use was strictly governed by the architectural hierarchy, reinforcing the sense of ordered flow. The central doorway was the most sacred, reserved almost entirely for the Emperor, the Son of Heaven, who moved along the central axis. His entry was a slow, deliberate performance, accompanied only by the soft sound of his own gentle footsteps. The doorways immediately to the left and right of the center were reserved for the imperial family and high-ranking officials. They allowed a contained, predictable flow of privileged movement. The 2 outer doorways at the very edges of the curving wings were reserved for officials of lower rank, and only on the rarest and most auspicious occasions for officials receiving special honors. This symmetrical organization of movement ensured that every person entering the palace was immediately aware of their place within the quiet structure of imperial rank. The vast central tower atop the Wumen was used only for ceremonial purposes, often for announcements and the quiet pronouncements of imperial calendar events. It was from here that the emperor's decrees would be read, or the gentle, soft wind of the imperial almanac would be dispersed. The use of this space was infrequent and always governed by quiet ritual, ensuring its continued reverence. Perhaps the most soothing aspect of the Wumen is the balance it achieves between mass and lightness. The colossal stone base and thick walls speak of earthbound stability, while the 5 graceful turrets above with their multiple eaves suggest the floating lightness of the heavens. It is a perfect architectural representation of the palace's core purpose, to mediate between earth and sky. As we drift past this massive gate, we are reminded that architecture in the Forbidden City is an active force. It does not merely shelter. It gently organizes human behavior. The Wumen ensures that all who pass through it leave the tension of the outer world behind, submitting to the slow, steady rhythm of the organized space within. It is the soft lock that seals the tranquility of the golden rectangle. Having passed through the stillness of the Meridian Gate, we find ourselves in the first great courtyard, where the central axis is momentarily softened by the gentle, symbolic presence of the river of golden water Jinshuihe. This quiet, curving waterway is the first feature encountered inside the palace walls, and it provides a vital lesson in flowing form and natural harmony. The river is not a large, aggressive channel, but a narrow, graceful stream deliberately routed in a soft, bow-shaped curve that echoes the gentle sway of a dragon's tail or a piece of flowing silk. This curve, an instance of deliberate asymmetry within the overwhelmingly symmetrical design, is an essential element of feng shui. It ensures that the vital energy, or shui, is not allowed to rush straight and violently toward the central halls, but is instead gently captured and guided around the main structures. Imagine the river's slow, constant flow, its surface reflecting the vast, quiet stone of the surrounding courtyard. The sound it makes is a subtle, continuous whisper, the soft lapping of water against the marble embankments, a soothing presence amidst the architectural silence. The river is a practical element, as well serving as a source of water for fire suppression, but its primary role is to establish a mood of tranquil balance. To cross this symbolic river, one must use one of the 5 curved bridges of golden water. These bridges are built of white marble, their arches rising in elegant, rounded shapes that mirror the celestial dome. They are structurally simple yet profound in their symbolism. The bridges are laid out in a precise fan-like arrangement, again emphasizing the order of hierarchy even in the act of crossing. The central bridge, wide and perfectly aligned with the axial line, was reserved exclusively for the emperor. His passage across this bridge was a slow, deliberate performance symbolizing his role as the conduit between the river of earthly power and the halls of heavenly mandate. The two flanking bridges were for the imperial family and high officials, while the outermost, slightly smaller bridges were reserved for lesser officials and those on specific duties. The movement across these bridges was never rushed. It was a measured, slow glide, with each person knowing their assigned path. This regulated movement ensured that the very act of entering the formal area was a moment of quiet ritual. The smooth white marble of the bridges, polished by centuries of gentle footsteps, contrasts beautifully with the warm yellow of the distant roofs. The intricate carving on the marble balustrades of the bridges often features dragons, clouds, and lotus flowers, all symbols of auspicious fortune and unending calm. When the moonlight falls upon the marble, the bridges seem to glow, appearing like quiet, permanent waves frozen in stone. The river of golden water, with its soft, flowing form and its 5 symmetrical bridges, acts as a softening filter for the entire outer court. It requires a brief, quiet pause before the slow ascent to the great halls begins. It reminds the visitor that even the most rigorous imperial order must be tempered by the gentle, natural rhythm of water and the necessity of harmonious flow. It is the first note of liquid calm in the massive architectural symphony of stone. As the traveler moved beyond the gentle curves of the Golden Water River, they were confronted by the magnificent multi-tiered white marble platform that supports the 3 great halls. This structure, known as the Terrace of 3 Steps, is a defining architectural feature, translating the complex hierarchy of the imperial court into a physical slow ascent. The terrace is not a single continuous flat surface, but a massive architectural cloud composed of 3 distinct levels rising one above the other. This tri-level design is itself symbolic, often linked to the 3 realms of existence: heaven, earth, and man, with the emperor standing at the highest point, mediating between the celestial and the earthly. Imagine standing at the base of this vast platform. To reach the Hall of Supreme Harmony, one must slowly, deliberately mount each of the 3 levels. This gradual, steady upward motion ensures that the final destination, the Emperor's throne, is approached only after a sequence of measured steps. The climb itself becomes a ritual, imposing a rhythm that is respectful, controlled, and utterly unhurried. Each level of the terrace is bordered by an elaborate balustrade carved from brilliant white marble. These balustrades are composed of thousands of precisely carved pillars, each topped by a small serene dragon or phoenix. The sheer repetition of these decorative elements creates a visual wave of calm, organized beauty, emphasizing the boundless scale of the imperial effort. Look closely at the rhythmic pattern. The space between each marble post is punctuated by a dragon head gargoyle. These are functional as well as symbolic. During the rare, heavy, gentle rain, the vast terrace covering thousands of square feet would collect water. The water would then flow through the mouths of these thousands of stone dragon heads, cascading in a coordinated sheet down the sides of the terrace. This natural event transformed the terrace into a temporary, magnificent waterfall, a soft, fleeting display of organized power. The gargoyles ensure that water which can be disruptive is managed and channeled into a harmonious spectacle. The hierarchy of the terrace dictated the placement of those attending ceremonies. The lowest step was for the officials of the lowest rank, their positions visually and physically subordinate to those above. The second step held higher-ranking officials, while the topmost tier, the most sacred and closest to the halls, was generally reserved for the emperor, the highest dignitaries, and ceremonial artifacts. The act of moving across this terrace, particularly for officials approaching the Hall of Supreme Harmony, was a journey of great stillness and self-control. No sharp movements, no hurried steps were allowed. The vast, open space amplified every sound, demanding that movement be reduced to gentle footsteps and soft whispers, ensuring that the predominant atmosphere was one of profound quiet. The Terrace of Three Steps is a masterful architectural expression of tranquil authority. It asserts rank not through sharp conflict or physical restriction, but through visual perspective and measured elevation. It guides the traveler into the highest state of organized calm, preparing them for the vast silence that awaits within the central hall. We have completed the slow, gentle ascent of the marble terraces and now stand before the largest and most significant structure in the entire complex, the Hall of Supreme Harmony, Tahitian. This hall embodies the highest expression of the palace's architecture, creating a physical space dedicated to vast silence and supreme, unmoving order. The hall is immense, designed to impress not with intricate decoration, but with colossal scale. It rests upon the highest point of the three-tiered terrace, its towering double-eaved roof of golden tiles, affirming its position as the symbolic center of the entire realm. When the light falls upon the hall, the yellow tiles shimmer with a soft, warm glow, making the structure appear grounded yet slightly lifted, like a stable thought held against the sky. The architecture here enforces stillness. The roof is supported by an enormous forest of columns, smooth round and symmetrical rising, like the tall, silent trunks of a sacred grove. The columns are perfectly aligned, creating a visual rhythm that stretches far into the dim, deep interior of the hall. This repetition of form acts like a visual mantra, encouraging the mind to settle and find peace in the pattern. Within this colossal space, the focus is drawn to the center, where the imperial throne rests upon a high carved dais. The throne is surrounded by screens and symbolic artifacts, all aligned precisely along the central axis. The emperor, when seated here, was positioned as the unmoving core of the organized cosmos, reflecting the pole star. The architecture ensured that any movement towards the throne was a slow, long journey through vast, echoing space. For most of the year, the Hall of Supreme Harmony stood empty, a fact that is key to its architectural purpose. Its vastness was deliberately left unfilled, allowing the space to breathe profound silence. This emptiness was a powerful symbol, a reminder that the Imperial Order was so stable and absolute that it did not require constant, noisy affirmation. It simply was. When great ceremonies did occur, the emperor's birthday or the New Year's rites, the court filled the space, yet the sheer size of the hall still demanded measured behavior. Voices were kept low, footsteps were gentle, and movement was slow. The soundscape was dominated not by human chatter, but by the quiet ritual music and the distant low embers of drums, ensuring the atmosphere remained controlled and ceremonial. The Tahitian is a masterpiece of architectural gravity. Its massive foundation, the scale of its beams, and the depth of its space all work together to create an atmosphere of low-drama permanence. It is a place where time itself seems to slow down, measured only by the long, drifting light that enters through the doors and slowly tracks across the polished floor. To be within the Hall of Supreme Harmony is to feel the gentle weight of ancient order. It is an invitation to submit to the architectural rhythm, allowing the mind to quiet down, finding comfort in the knowledge that this immense, organized space stands as the tranquil, unwavering heart of the world. Moving through the vast, open spaces of the outer court, we trace the gentle central path reserved for the emperor, the Imperial Road. This path is not paved with ordinary stone, but features a singular colossal slab of marble at its heart, known as the stone carving path. This feature is an expression of quiet status and symbolic elevation, guiding the emperor's movement with profound grace. Imagine the long white marble path running up the center of the terrace, leading to the hall of preserving harmony. It is not a path for walking, but a ramp, a very long, low, gentle slope designed for the imperial sedan chair to be carried smoothly over its surface. This continuous gradual incline ensures that the emperor's journey is always a slow, fluid glide, untouched by the effort of climbing steps. The most magnificent part of this path is the central stone itself, located between the Hall of Preserving Harmony and the gate behind it. It is a single piece of carved marble, weighing hundreds of tons, moved with the patience and organization we recalled earlier over the slippery, frozen winter roads. This great stone is covered in a deep, intricate relief, carving a silent, complex narrative in stone. The carving primarily features the cloud dragon. This dragon is not fierce, but a powerful stylized symbol of the emperor's celestial authority. It is depicted rising from the sea, surrounded by swirling mist and clouds, ascending towards a flaming pearl, the symbol of wisdom and illumination. The dragon's body is long, flowing, and majestic, its curves designed to catch the drifting light and cast soft, changing shadows across the path as the sun moves. This stone carving path served a crucial ceremonial role. During grand rituals, when the emperor was carried along this central axis, the colossal carving beneath his chair was the unmoving focal point of the ceremony. It ensured that even the ground he traveled upon was a reminder of his cosmic mandate and the eternal organized power he represented. The path speaks of low drama permanence, a narrative etched in stone that required no explanation. The gentle slope of the imperial road also dictated the rhythm of all surrounding activity. Because the central axis was reserved for this ceremonial movement, the vast courtyards on either side were traversed by officials and courtiers. Their movements, even when on foot, had to respect the stillness and centrality of the imperial line. No one was permitted to cross the carving, reinforcing the sense of hierarchical calm. When there was no ceremony, the imperial road remained quiet, vast, and empty. The polished stone, cool and smooth, reflected the immense distant night sky, emphasizing the stillness at the very heart of the palace. The carving itself, only briefly touched by the passage of the sedan chair, became a deep, continuous meditation on order and flow, reminding everyone that true authority rests on a foundation of symbolic grace and unhurried design. The path is a perfect architectural metaphor for controlled power, smooth, continuous, visually magnificent, yet requiring immense patient effort to create, all designed to ensure the emperor's journey was a soft, steady glide through his organized world. We now turn our attention from the vast, open spaces to the quiet, subtle genius hidden within the very structure of the palace's great halls, the meticulous use of wooden joinery. This architectural technique, employed throughout the Forbidden City, demonstrates that the greatest strength can be found in soft, interlocking parts, rather than rigid, unyielding connections. Unlike many Western stone structures that relied on mortar, massive arches, or iron bolts for stability, the Forbidden City's major halls are essentially massive wooden frameworks. The colossal columns support intricate systems of beams and brackets that are held together without the use of nails or glue in the primary structural connections. This is the quiet wisdom of the dugong bracket sets. Imagine looking up into the shadows of the eaves where the roof meets the supporting column. Here you see the dugong, a complex layered network of small, interlocking wooden blocks, and cantilevered arms gong. Image of detailed Chinese dugong architectural bracket system. These pieces are carved and fitted together with such precision that the sheer weight of the golden tile roof holds the entire system firmly in place. The function of the dugong is one of gentle, flexible strength. It does not resist force directly. Rather, it absorbs and distributes it. When the earth shifts softly, or when the wind brings gentle pressure against the high roof, the interlocking joints of the dugong do not snap. Instead, they allow a small, controlled amount of movement. The structure gently flexes, swaying slightly, allowing the energy of the stress to dissipate across the entire network before returning to its original, serene position. This flexibility is the secret to the longevity of the timber halls. The wooden joints act as natural shock absorbers, protecting the palace from the gentle tremors and the inevitable movement of the ancient earth. The structure literally breathes, moving with the landscape rather than against it. The entire palace complex is therefore a massive demonstration of quiet harmony between hard materials and flexible connection. The massive straight columns represent stability and permanence, while the delicate complex dugong brackets represent the necessary adaptability required for endurance. This balance between the straight line and the complex curve is central to the palace's aesthetic piece. Even the process of assembling these massive wooden components was a lesson in organized calm. The parts were prefabricated with quiet precision in distant workshops, then transported and lifted into place. The workers did not need the noisy trauma of forging iron. They needed the soft, quiet accuracy of the joiner's chisel and the perfect fit of wood against wood. The soundscape within the halls, especially in the vast stillness of the outer courts, is influenced by this construction. There are no sharp metallic echoes, only the soft resonance of wood absorbing and softening any distant sound, creating an atmosphere conducive to deep internal reflection. The use of wooden joinery is the architectural heart of the Forbidden City's low drama style. It teaches us that true stability is not found in rigidity, but in the capacity for gentle, interlocking movement, allowing the structure to endure the slow passage of time with grace and quiet strength. We now experience a significant yet quiet transition in our slow journey through the palace. The movement from the vast ceremonial space of the outer courts to the sheltered private intimacy of the inner courts. This threshold marks a fundamental shift in the architectural language, moving from the colossal scale of state ritual to the smaller, more human scale of home. The doorway that orchestrates this soft change is the gate of heavenly purity, Qing. This gate stands on the central axis, acting as the final clear divider between the emperor's public duties and his personal life. It is the place where the world of immense echoing silence gives way to a world of enclosed courtyards and warm low embers. Imagine crossing the threshold. The contrast is immediate yet gentle. In the outer courts, the halls were set upon high marble terraces dedicated to the vast stillness of cosmic order. In the inner courts, the structures are closer to the ground, placed within smaller, more human-sized courtyards. The scale shrinks and the air feels closer, more sheltered and deeply peaceful. The architecture here softens its insistence on absolute scale. While the outer courts were dominated by the yellow of the emperor, the inner courts introduce a greater variety of colors, primarily the gentle green and blue of the gardens, and private spaces, creating a more relaxed, contemplative mood. The overwhelming symmetrical alignment remains, but it is now applied to smaller, more intricate settings, creating a feeling of organized domestic calm. The inner courts are known as the Ho San Gong, or the three rear palaces, and they were the exclusive domain of the emperor, the empress, and the concubines. They were the heart of the home, where the emperor could momentarily set aside the immense ritualized burden of the throne. The architecture here encourages a slower, softer rhythm of movement and life. The courtyard, immediately after the Gate of Heavenly Purity, is deliberately long and narrow. This design forces a brief, measured walk, ensuring that any official business or lingering stress from the outside world is gently diffused before one reaches the emperor's main residence, the Palace of Heavenly Purity, Qing. The stones here are not the vast, cold marble of the terraces, but often paving bricks that feel warmer underfoot. Even the purpose of the space shifts. The outer halls stood mostly empty, awaiting grand ceremony. The inner palaces were constantly occupied, their gentle presence filled with the low, continuous sounds of daily life. The quiet rustle of silk robes, the gentle chime of distant bells, and the warm breath of servants moving through the halls. This architectural transition to private life is the key to understanding the palace's human dimension. It shows that even the most powerful order requires a space of retreat and softness. The threshold of the gate of heavenly purity is a gentle instruction: leave the loud complexities of the external world behind and enter this sheltered realm of organized rest. It is a movement from the vastness of the heavens to the quiet warmth of the hearth. Having crossed the soft threshold, we find ourselves in the sheltered core of the residential complex, an area defined by the inner three palaces, Hao San Gong. These structures, the Palace of Heavenly Purity, the Hall of Earthly Tranquility, and the Hall of Union and Peace, are arranged in a sequence that mirrors the outer vast ceremonial halls, yet expresses a smaller, more intimate order, dedicated to the quiet rhythm of the emperor's home life. The first and largest of this trio is the Palace of Heavenly Purity, Qing. This was the emperor's main residence and office within the inner court. While still grand, its scale is deliberately reduced compared to the colossal outer halls. This adjustment in size allows the structure to feel more contained, providing a sense of organized warmth that was impossible in the echoing spaces of the ceremonial court. Its roof is still imperial yellow, affirming its status, but its lower profile brings it closer to the human scale. Imagine the atmosphere here. The interior is richly yet softly decorated, relying on warm wood tones and intricate rhythmic patterns. Unlike the vast, empty silence of the Tahitian Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Qing was always gently occupied. It was the site of the emperor's daily, less formal work, where the low embers of candlelight burned late into the distant night. Next in the sequence is the Hall of Earthly Tranquility, Kuningong. This palace was historically the residence of the empress. Its name itself suggests the concept of stability and peaceful rest, symbolizing the empress's role as the earthly counterpart to the emperor's celestial authority. In the architectural symbolism of the Forbidden City, the emperor Heaven Yang and the empress Earth Yin must be perfectly balanced. And these two palaces facing each other along the axis visually assert that required harmony. The architecture of the Kuningong is particularly evocative of sheltered calm. It features wide, deep eaves that cast long, gentle shadows, and its inner space often incorporated elements designed for relaxation and contemplation, such as traditional Qing beds. This space was designed for quiet domestic ritual, ensuring the private life of the court maintained a serene, predictable rhythm. Tucked quietly between these two main residences is the Hall of Union and Peace, Jiao Tidian. Smaller and perfectly square, it acts as the vital transition point, much like the Hall of Central Harmony in the outer court. Its square shape symbolizes earthly grounding, while its central location ensures a continuous, peaceful connection between the emperor's residence and the empress's palace. This hall houses the imperial seal's quiet symbols of the emperor's authority, and it was used for small personal rituals cementing the union and peace within the royal household. The overall design of the inner three palaces demonstrates a softening filter applied to imperial power. The spaces are arranged to promote a rhythm of daily life the rising and resting of the court rather than the grand rituals of state. It is a study in how even the most rigorous imperial order can be designed to provide an atmosphere of quiet security and intimate organization, ensuring that the heart of the home remains a tranquil space. As we move deeper into the sheltered realm of the inner courts, the architectural focus shifts from the immense geometry of the halls to the intricate, soothing presence of the courtyard gardens. These were not wild, untamed spaces. They were carefully composed elements integrating nature into the imperial order to create a contemplative, organized dream. The gardens found tucked within the residential complexes of the concubines and consorts served as a vital counterpoints to the hard lines and vast, empty silence of the main courts. They were the places where the soft energies of the natural world were invited inside the walls, but only under the strictest control of design. Imagine a small, secluded courtyard, bathed in the drifting light of the afternoon sun. The design here is asymmetrical, a deliberate, gentle break from the absolute symmetry of the main axis. This asymmetry is achieved through the placement of key elements, a curiously shaped quiet stone, a winding path, or a small low-flute pavilion. This controlled irregularity offered a visual and mental relief, encouraging a more reflective, personal pace of movement. The primary role of these gardens was to create a landscape of miniature serenity. They utilized techniques that reduced the scale of the outer world into a contained, manageable vista. Large, imposing mountains were symbolized by carefully chosen and placed Taihu rocks, eroded limestone formations known for their porous texture and gentle flowing contours. These rocks stood as silent sculptural pieces, inviting contemplation without the arduous effort of climbing a real mountain. Water, the symbol of flow and wealth, was present not as the vast moat, but as small, slow river pools or narrow, quiet streams that trickled over smooth pebbles. The sound of this moving water, soft and continuous, contributed to the atmosphere of profound stillness, masking the distant sounds of the external city. The plant life itself was rigorously selected and maintained to express order and endurance. Pines and cypresses, symbols of longevity and resilience, were frequently featured. They were often carefully pruned and shaped, their natural growth gently guided to fit the architectural frame. Flowering plants, such as peonies and chrysanthemums, were placed in organized groupings, their colors adding a soft warmth that contrasted with the cool gray of the paving stones. The paths within these gardens rarely ran straight. They were designed to wind softly, compelling the walker to move slowly, turning frequently, so that each step revealed a new, carefully composed scene. This slow, gentle movement ensured that the garden was experienced with quiet attention, transforming a short walk into a small, contemplative journey. These courtyard gardens were essential architectural elements in the softening filter of the inner courts. They provided a space where the inhabitants could find organized rest, escaping the ritualistic pressures of the imperial schedule. They were living, breathing examples of nature as an organized dream where every element, stone, water, and plant, contributed to an atmosphere of deep, contained peace. As we dwell in the deep quiet of the inner courts, we begin to appreciate the profound architectural strategy that underpins the entire palace, the soft rhythms of repetition. This reliance on continuous symmetry and the steady sequence of forms, particularly the numerous pillars, is not merely decorative. It is a powerful, intentional mechanism for inducing calm and asserting unwavering order. Imagine yourself standing within one of the long, columned corridors, or looking across the vast expanse of a major hall. The pillars round and smooth rise in perfect measured lines, stretching into the dim, shadowy distance. The repetition of these forms creates a visual melody that is both hypnotic and reassuring. There are no sudden breaks, no unexpected changes in the rhythm. Every pillar is placed precisely where it is expected to be, mirroring its counterpart across the central axis. This symmetry is the architectural expression of the imperial belief in balance and stability. Just as the heavens and the earth must be in harmony, the left side of the palace must perfectly balance the right. This meticulous measured duplication removes any sense of visual tension or conflict. It tells the eye and the mind that everything in this world is contained, predictable, and in its correct place. The repetition of the pillars, often made from the massive durable Nanmu timbers, also dictates the rhythm of movement and sound. When a person walks along a colonnade, their footsteps fall into a steady measured pace, corresponding to the equal intervals between the columns. The sound itself is broken and softened by the wood, creating a series of gentle echoes that quickly dissipate, preventing any loud jarring noise from disturbing the peace. Look closely at the details of the smaller palaces in the inner court. Each residential complex features a main hall, flanked by two side halls, all arranged on the central axis. Then, this entire grouping is repeated dozens of times across the inner court. This repeating sequence of three halls, a large central element, flanked by two smaller wings, is the fundamental organized unit of the palace. This structural cadence ensures that the palace, despite its complexity, is easily read and understood. The mind doesn't have to strain to grasp the layout. The calm pattern is immediately recognizable. The repetition acts as a kind of architectural lullaby, inviting the viewer to relax their focus and simply absorb the feeling of endless stable order. The rhythmic arrangement also subtly controls the drifting light. As the sun moves, the long rows of columns cast moving shadows. These shadows do not distort or hide. They move with predictable uniformity, emphasizing the three-dimensional, unchanging structure of the hall. The light and shadow, therefore, participate in the rhythm of order, never breaking the symmetry. The soft rhythms of repetition are the palace's most effective sleep-safe feature. They avoid all drama and confusion, replacing potential chaos with the certainty of pattern. The mind, finding no sharp edges or unexpected deviations, settles into the profound stillness dictated by the endless quiet balance of pillars and symmetrical forms. We arrive at the final structure of the central residential sequence, the Hall of Union and Peace Jiaotadian. This hall is a quiet, profound architectural moment dedicated entirely to the abstract concept of harmony, the ultimate goal of the Imperial Order. It is a space designed to symbolize the perfect, effortless balance between all opposing forces. Imagine the hall itself. It is the smallest of the three inner palaces, and its shape is a perfect square. This shape, unlike the elongated rectangles of the other halls, directly symbolizes the earth, stable, grounded, and contained. Positioned precisely between the Palace of Heavenly Purity, Emperor, Ashtar, Heaven, and the Palace of Earthly Tranquility, Empress, Ashtkodi, Earth, the Jiaotadian acts as the architectural fulcrum, mediating and fusing their energies into a state of quiet equilibrium. The hall's purpose reinforces this symbolic balance. It was here that the imperial seals were stored, the quiet, physical representations of the emperor's authority. These seals were not symbols of aggression, but of sanctioned power and legal order. Their presence in this perfectly balanced square hall asserted that the imperial power was governed by harmony and stability, not by chaos or sudden shifts. The structure is defined by its simple elegance. Its single-eaved golden roof is sturdy and calm, and its walls are painted in soft, pale colors that absorb the light rather than reflecting it harshly. The interior features a central throne, used for only the most intimate symbolic ceremonies, such as the Empress's silkworm ritual, a quiet acknowledgement of her role in sustaining the earthly order. Perhaps the most evocative feature is the clepsydra, or water clock, which was traditionally kept inside the Jiaotadian. This ancient device, relying on the slow, constant flow of water to measure the passage of time, is a perfect metaphor for the architectural goal of harmony. It reminds the occupants that time, like power, must be measured predictable and continuous, a slow river flowing without interruption. The gentle, continuous drip of the water clock served as the quiet pulse of the palace's temporal order. Furthermore, the number 25 is often associated with this hall. This number holds great significance as the number of official imperial seals. The concept of 25 seals, all housed in one small square space, reinforced the idea that all facets of power were centrally contained and managed in a state of perfect quiet unity. The Hall of Union and Peace serves as a vital turning point in the palace's architectural narrative. The outer courts demanded ritual and scale. The inner palaces demanded domesticity and order. This hall, through its geometry, its content, the seals, and its function. The water clock insists that the private harmony of the royal household is the indispensable foundation for public stability. Without union and peace at the center, the grand vision of supreme harmony in the state could not be maintained. The architecture here is an invitation to find rest in resolution. It is a space that visually and functionally dissolves conflict, insisting on a state of unwavering equilibrium as the highest form of imperial expression. This quiet square structure is the heart of the home and the symbol of the empire's most cherished long-term dream. We now softly transition into the final layer of our deep journey, the legacy. The vast palace complex, despite its architectural perfection and cosmic intention, was not immune to the inevitable forces of change, particularly the frequent occurrence of fire, the subtle, disruptive work of the fire dragon. This necessity for renewal became a major part of the palace's enduring story, revealing the imperial commitment to gentle rebuilding. The great halls, built primarily of colossal timbers, were extremely vulnerable to fire, often caused by lightning or simple human error. Over its 5 centuries of existence, the Forbidden City suffered numerous devastating fires. These were moments of profound loss, but they were not moments of complete architectural defeat. Instead, each fire initiated a new cycle of patient, methodical reconstruction. Imagine the aftermath of such an event, the immense silence broken only by the crackle of low embers and the sight of smoke drifting against the distant night. The emperor's reaction was never one of frantic, hurried change, but a slow, deeply considered response. The rebuilding was seen not as a setback, but as a ritualistic opportunity to reassert the original perfect cosmic order. The most crucial aspect of this gentle rebuilding was the unwavering commitment to the original blueprint. When a major hall burned, the builders and engineers were immediately tasked with reconstructing it using the exact same design, the exact same measurements, and the exact same materials. This deliberate duplication ensured that the symbolic and architectural integrity of the whole complex was preserved. It was a reaffirmation that the order of the palace was eternal, regardless of the temporary loss of its physical structure. This commitment to the original form is the reason why the overall symmetry and the central axial line were never compromised, even when rebuilding was spread over decades. The palace, in its essence, was a constant declaration that the system was more enduring than the individual parts. The reconstruction required logistical feats akin to the original building. Massive timbers had to be sourced once again from the distant misty forests and moved along the slow river currents and canals. This constant necessary effort of rebuilding kept the ancient craft skills of the empire alive and ensured that the knowledge of the intricate wooden joinery and the glazed tile production was passed down through generations. In some instances, the fires led to subtle, peaceful shifts, small, careful changes in decoration, or the adjustment of a courtyard's perimeter. These were not radical departures, but minor controlled evolutions, like a tree slowly shedding an old branch and growing a new one in the same space. The Hall of Supreme Harmony, for example, has been rebuilt multiple times, yet it always stands on the same triple-tiered marble platform, asserting its unwavering stillness and authority. The continuous cycle of destruction and reconstruction therefore transformed the Forbidden City into a living testament to organizational resilience. Its legacy is not just in the structures that stand today, but in the repeated quiet act of renewal. The shadow of the fire dragon was ultimately defeated by the gentle, persistent will to rebuild the organized dream exactly as it was first conceived. The palace became a symbol of life's continuity, sustained by the constant, patient repetition of its own perfect form. As our journey nears its gentle close, we find the ultimate expression of the palace's enduring peace. In the northernmost space, tucked behind the residential courts, the Imperial Garden, or Yuhua Yuan. This garden is the final, most intimate architectural statement, a testament to lasting serenity achieved through the careful placement of quiet stones and contained nature. The garden is not large, especially when compared to the vast courtyards of the outer halls. Its scale is deliberately human and approachable, designed to be a space of soft daily contemplation for the imperial family. It is a place where the rigidity of the central axis is finally and gently dissolved into a landscape of planned asymmetry and subtle winding paths. Imagine the atmosphere. The air here is cool, often scented with the light fragrance of pines and ancient cypresses. The architecture blends seamlessly with the natural elements. There are small, cozy pavilions and rockeries, all designed to create a visual sequence of surprise and peaceful discovery. Unlike the frontal halls dedicated to the sun, and the garden embraces the soft light filtered through the tree canopies and the moonlight reflecting off polished stone. The defining feature of the Yuhua Yuan is the use of quiet stones, the Tai Hu rocks. These rocks, naturally sculpted by water and time, are arranged in carefully composed mountainscapes, offering the feeling of a vast, misty landscape, compressed into a small, manageable area. The most famous example is the Hill of Accumulated Elegance Dui Xiu Shan, a complex rockery that provides a small, gentle ascent, allowing the viewer a brief symbolic glance over the surrounding palace roofs. This ascent is not strenuous. It is a slow ritual climb meant to clear the mind. From the peak, the surrounding vastness feels contained and organized, reinforcing the feeling that the emperor's quiet world is sheltered and complete. Water in the Yuhua Yuan is scarce, emphasizing the grounded, earth-based nature of the space. But it is symbolized by beds of white pebbles, a tranquil representation of a dried riverbed. The paths themselves are often paved with intricate patterns of small colored stones, encouraging the walker to look down and slow their pace, transforming walking into a quiet, focused meditation. The garden is home to many ancient cypresses, some dating back to the time of the palace's original construction. Their slow, continuous growth symbolizes the longevity and endurance of the imperial line. These trees stand as silent, living pillars, their deep roots anchoring the peaceful intention of the garden into the ancient earth. Their presence instills a profound sense of low-drama permanence. The Yuhua Yuan is the final essential balance point of the palace's architectural narrative. The outer courts demonstrated external power. The inner courts offered domestic order, and the garden provides internal serenity. It is the place where the emperor could retreat from the geometric demands of his ritual life and find comfort in the organized flow of a natural yet controlled dream. This garden, full of lasting serenity and quiet stones, is the palace's final soft whisper before the external world resumes. It is the last space designed for pure, tranquil rest. Moving gently out of the quiet serenity of the Imperial Garden, we arrive at the northernmost boundary of the palace complex, the Gate of Divine Might, or Shenwumen. This gate marks the final peaceful exit from the Forbidden City, completing the long journey along the central organizing axis. Unlike the Meridian Gate Wumen to the south, which was massive and designed for grand ritualized entry, the Shenwumen is a structure of humbler, quieter proportions. Its design is less about the dramatic assertion of power and more about the controlled, gentle flow of passage between the contained world of the palace and the outer reaches of the Imperial City. Imagine standing at this gate, looking back at the long, straight line of the palace, which has accompanied us through every courtyard and every hall. The Shenwumen is crowned by a high, graceful tower, built with the same sturdy timber and yellow glazed tiles as the main halls. But it stands alone, without the extensive three-tiered marble terrace of the south gate. Its height serves simply to allow the soft wind to move gently over the rooftop, carrying the palace's quiet atmosphere outward. Historically, this gate was known as the Gate of Black Tortoise, Zhuanwumen. The black tortoise is a powerful celestial symbol associated with the north, representing stability, longevity, and water. Although the name was later changed, the symbolic meaning of quiet, enduring strength remains in the architecture. It is the anchor of the north, providing the necessary balance to the south's assertion of life and light. The Shenwumen was not used for the large formal ceremonies of state. Instead, it was reserved for the quiet practical movements of the court. It was the gate through which the emperor and empress often made their discreet departures, perhaps, to visit the nearby imperial gardens outside the main walls or to make quiet pilgrimages to temples. It was also the primary route for the gentle flow of daily necessities, ensuring the smooth logistics of the inner courts. The architectural contrast between the two main gates is a powerful statement about the nature of imperial order. The South Gate Wumen represents the public, rigid, formal face of power, the emperor at his most ritualized. The North Gate Shenwumen represents the private, practical, human dimension, the emperor at his most intimate and serene. As we pass under the archway, we move from the strict, organized containment of the palace to the vast open space of the imperial city, which once housed the court's administrative and service areas. The movement is one of soft release, a quiet relaxation of the intense symmetry and structure we have been observing. The tower of the Shenwumen now often holds a bell and a drum, which were historically used to mark the time, ensuring the entire city moved to the same slow, steady rhythm. The sound of the drum, a low embers of sound, and the chime of the bell, a gentle echo, were the quiet signals that regulated the beginning and end of the day, ensuring the predictable flow of human activity. The North Gate is the final essential guardian of the palace's tranquility. It is the point of soft reflection on the long journey, confirming that the rigorous order of the palace eventually yields to the calm, gentle flow of the external world, ensuring that the dream of the center is quietly contained and protected. Our long, quiet journey brings us to the most subtle yet profound element of the palace's legacy, the enduring echo of the axial line. This imaginary, perfectly straight north-south spine, which began as the central intention of the emperor, continues to impose a powerful sense of order in modern flow upon the vast city of Beijing long after the imperial court has receded. Imagine tracing this invisible line outward from the palace walls. It does not stop at the gates. It extends far to the south, reaching through major architectural landmarks like the Temple of Heaven Tiantan, and far to the north, encompassing the drum and bell towers. This line, almost 16 kilometers long, is the unwavering backbone of the modern city structure. The axial line is a testament to the power of initial intention. Every subsequent era, every new wave of construction, and every layer of modern flow has had to acknowledge and respect this ancient organizing thread. The line ensures that no matter how complex the modern city becomes, it retains a fundamental, non-negotiable balance, the left side mirroring the right, maintaining a sense of controlled, vast symmetry. This adherence to the axis provides a feeling of predictability and structural peace. When a visitor moves through Beijing today, they are constantly guided by this deep, invisible structure, often without realizing it. Major roads, boulevards, and even the placement of monumental new buildings conform to this ancient, restful geometry. The city breathes a slow, steady rhythm, dictated by a line established over 5 centuries ago. Look, for instance, at the Temple of Heaven at the southern end of the axis. This vast complex dedicated to the emperor's quiet rituals of offering and prayer is placed perfectly on the line. The alignment of its 3 main structures, all standing in a measured, solemn sequence, reinforces the concept of cosmic order that the Forbidden City began. The axial line connects the emperor's homeland to his place of worship, heaven, ensuring that the entire city serves as a unified, organized diagram. The echo of the axial line is fundamentally an architectural lesson in sustaining calm. It proves that the imposition of clear, simple structure is the most effective way to manage complexity over time. The line is not a rigid restriction. It is a gentle, constant guide preventing urban chaos and encouraging a sense of visual and navigational ease. Even the modern movement of people, the flow of traffic, the quiet crowds, is funneled and organized by this historical structure. The line ensures that even the fastest motion occurs within a predictable, contained framework. The legacy of the axial line is the soft assurance that order endures. It whispers that the most powerful organizing principles are those that are simple, unmoving, and patient, capable of absorbing the turbulence of time without ever breaking their fundamental symmetry. It is the silent, unending melody of Imperial Order that continues to harmonize the modern flow. We have reached the quietest moment, the very end of our journey, where the vast structure of the Forbidden City settles into its final, most enduring form. A dream made solid, an eternal lullaby, whispered in wood, tile, and stone. The palace complex, stretching across its measured length and breadth, stands today as a profound statement, not of fleeting power, but of structural peace. It reminds us that the human yearning for order and stability can be etched into the earth with such patience and precision that it lasts for half a millennium. The architectural dream of the Yongle Emperor, built to mirror the unmoving pole star, has itself become an unmoving star on the surface of the earth. Imagine the complex now in its deepest rest. The yellow tiles, warmed by the memories of countless sunrises, reflect the distant night with a muted glow. The white marble terraces breathe the cool air, their gentle ascent no longer climbed by officials, but by the quiet passage of time itself. The entire site is enveloped in a profound stillness, a manufactured calm that absorbs all the noise and haste of the modern world. The legacy of the Forbidden City is its demonstration of harmony through discipline. Every element of the north-south axis and the rule of the number 9, the soft rhythm of the dugong joinery, the careful placement of the courtyard gardens, all work together as notes in a vast, organized composition. This composition avoids all sharp dissonance, creating a continuous, low-frequency sound of structural equilibrium. This equilibrium is the true, eternal lullaby. It whispers to the tired mind that every element has its place, that every movement is measured, and that the vastness of the world can be contained and organized into a series of predictable, safe spaces. The architecture tells a silent story of how rigidity, the straight line, must coexist with flexibility, the wooden joints, and how the grandest scale must accommodate intimacy, the small gardens, to achieve true, lasting stability. The palace remains the ultimate example of a sleep-safe environment achieved through design. It filters out complexity, replacing it with the soft rhythms of repetition and the certainty of symmetry. It invites the visitor and the listener to release the stress of chaos, submitting instead to the gentle hypnotic rhythm of an architectural pattern perfected centuries ago. Let your final thoughts drift to the central axis, stretching out into the darkness, a line of absolute truth and unwavering focus. Feel the cool, grounded presence of the stone beneath your imagination, and the quiet assurance that all is well, all is aligned, and all is at peace. The palace, a dream of cosmic order made real, has settled into its long, quiet slumber, and now so may you. In this quiet journey tonight, we drifted through the gentle echoes of the architecture of the Forbidden City, a detailed study of Imperial Order from their earliest beginnings in the Emperor's celestial vision, to the soft traces they leave behind as a blueprint for enduring peace. Allow the thoughts of straight lines, symmetric halls, and the calm rhythm of the golden roofs to settle gently in your mind. There is no urgency in history. There is only the slow, continuous flow of time. Feel the stability of the ancient timber and stone beneath your imagination, grounding you in quiet safety. If this peaceful journey brought you ease, you may leave a soft like or whisper in the comments where you'd like to drift next. And now, let the night grow still. Let your breath slow. May sleep come softly and carry you into peaceful rest. Good night.